G'day all and welcome back to Freo Faithful. Today we're going to be previewing this Sunday's clash against St Kilda. In fact, when you'll be watching this, it will be game day. I'll only be a few hours out from the game. Big game this one. We're looking for 6 in a row. Every game feels big at this point in the season. And, you know, it's a long season. We're starting to get to the pointy end of it. And we're starting to get to the point where we need to, be building towards our best football. And I feel like we've done that over the course of the past 5 games. We've won 5 in a row. We're aiming for a 6th. But this one is a little bit difficult. I feel like in the 5-game sort of win streak, we've overcome some mental hurdles that we haven't overcome in recent years. I feel like this one is another one, but it's a mental hurdle coming from only a few weeks ago, where we lost by, 10, 11, 12 goals, however much it was on a Friday night to St Kilda. It was the worst game of football I've ever watched this club play. And if it isn't, it's certainly up there. It's a game... Look, I don't want to say it's a revenge game because I don't feel like we've got anything to prove to St Kilda. I just feel like we've got a lot of things to prove to ourselves. We've shown that we can play good football. We've shown we can match it with the best over the course of these past few weeks. And I think, after this Saints game, a really, really tough run starts. And you could almost argue the tough run starts with this game here. So, we can't go easy. We can't be complacent. We really just have to rock up and we have to be ready for whatever St Kilda throw at us. 3 changes for each team. The Dockers have made 3 omissions. Jeremy Sharp. We were discussing on the podcast during the week whether Jeremy Sharp is a droppable player in Justin Longmuir's eyes. I said he was. Drew said he wasn't. And it's turned out he's been dropped. It's been... A few people have been calling for it for a few weeks. I wasn't one of the people that jumped on Jeremy Sharp's back straight away, but I can probably see the logic behind it now. Josh Draper has also been omitted, and James Aish has been omitted. Coming in, Isaiah Dudley, welcome back to the team. He has not been in the team in yonks. I want to say the last game he played in was the Giants win. So it's been a while for Duds. Sean Darcy's back into sort of tag team Rowan Marshall, and also Oscar McDonald is into the team. I like these changes. I think Darcy coming in is the right decision. I've seen a lot of people still criticising the 2-ruck setup. I think JL's spot on. It is a horses for courses thing, and this is certainly a game where I feel like playing both of them is the sufficient decision. Having both of these guys up against Rowan Marshall. I think their backup ruck is Isaac Keeler goes in there. I think Mitch Owens goes in there. They've got a few guys that sort of chop out for Marshall. So, I think if we can tag team them, I think we can hopefully get ascendancy out of the middle. And I also like Oscar McDonald. I think I've always... not always, but sort of over the past few weeks, I've sort of wanted McDonald in the team over Draper. I think a lot of fans have. It's not just been me. I'm happy Omac's in the team. He's played 2 games this year, and they've both been in the forward line. So I think we forget how good a backman he is. He's been in good form down at Peel, and let's hope he can have a good game against the Saints. St Kilda have also made 3 changes. Jimmy Webster managed, interestingly. Brad Hill's out with illness, and Ryan Burns has been omitted. Coming in, former Docker, Liam Henry, Hugo Garcia, and Jack Carroll. Now, the Hugo Garcia in is quite interesting because last game where we got pantsed by them, Sarong and Brayshaw copped a double tag. And Hugo Garcia was one of those guys tagging. I think he went to Brayshaw. So it's going to be interesting. I think that's maybe what they're going to go with again if they're bringing in Garcia out of nowhere. Now, our injury list is quite lengthy. However, at the moment, they're all within, I think 5 weeks max. So we're going to get a lot of our troops back very, very soon. A lot of these guys we might get back next week or the week after. So Sam Switkowski's still out. Hopefully he's back next week. Sonny, it didn't pull up very well from the waffle. Neither did Jager. So they both are going to miss another week. Hayden Young is only about 4 weeks away. Sam Sturt's a week away. Cooper Simpson's 4 weeks away. And Moose, fingers crossed, could have been back this week, but should be back next week. St Kilda's injury list is very short. Zane Cordy, Dougal Howard, Max King, Mateus Filippo. So Max King is sort of irrelevant in a way because he's been out all season. Hasn't made a difference to them this season. Filippo was obviously a late exclusion last week. So, they're mainly healthy, the Saints, but they have made a few changes, a few forced changes as well. And, a lot of the St Kilda fan base, from what I've read, are saying this is a really good team and probably the best team they've put out this season, according to them. Now, talking of teams, obviously last time we played them, we went down 14-10-94 to 5-3-33. Despicable display. But I've had a look at the team changes since last time for both teams. So for the Dockers, we've had 5 players that are playing today that didn't play last time around. And for St Kilda, there are 6 players in that bracket. So in that round 8 loss, we had Narkle, Pierce, Sharp, Young, and Switkowski, who all aren't playing today. The 5 that are playing today that didn't play in that game are McDonald, O'Driscoll, Voss, Erasmus, and Fife. So since then, Voss has sort of revitalised our forward makeup. We've been chopping and changing a little bit in the backline due to some forced changes, but for the most part, it's been pretty steady. You know, you've had guys like Luke Ryan, Jordan Clark having all-Australian seasons. And I think we've gotten better midfield support around Sarong and Brayshaw that hopefully can help them break whatever tag they throw at us on Sunday. So, in that game, we only had Hayden Young. We only had him for about a half. But since then, we've sort of built, Erasmus, Fife, even Noddy, when he's come back in, has sort of attended a few CBAs. Just a bit of support around those two to hopefully create some space and hopefully break whatever they throw at us to mitigate what's a really strong area of our game. So I think we have strengthened in all areas since that game, not just as a unit, but I think in the lines as well. I think it's pretty noticeable. And then St Kilda. The 6 that played in last game that aren't playing on Sunday: Dougal Howard, Liam O'Connell, Jimmy Webster, Brad Hill, Lance Collard, and Hugh Boxall. And in is Isaac Keeler, Alex Toru, Mason Wood, Toby Travalia, Hunter Clark, Dan Butler, Jack Carroll. So it's hard to say. There are a few losses there. Like, they'd probably rather have Howard and Webster in. I've seen a few fans calling for the recall of Hugh Boxall, but for the most part, they're probably stronger as well. I'd like to think their form maybe isn't as strong. Like, yes, they took it up to Collingwood last week, but, they've lost to West Coast this season at Optus. It's not necessarily a team that's, bounding with a great form. So there are a few keys to win this game. Despite them being a team which are lowly on the ladder, they won't make finals, but they're a team that pantsed us last time, and we have to be ready for whatever they throw at us, as I've mentioned a few times. First and foremost, I've mentioned it already, but neglecting the tags. In particular, Caleb Sarong. He's our main guy. He's our in and under grunt guy. He gets the ball out, and he's the star of all of our really good contested chain, or really good stoppage chains. And he's someone that's pretty easy to get under the skin of. I remember the Richmond game in Gather Round in particular. I can't remember who it was. I think Taranto really got under his skin. The Saints game as well. There have been a few tags this season where Sarong just hasn't been able to break out of it. I think James Jordan against the Swans as well, which we'll have to deal with next week. So, Caleb's really good to try and work around that. I think Andy doesn't get tagged as much, and when he does, he sort of does pretty well at breaking out of it. But the Saints game in particular was the one which, you could say that was a turning point in a good way on our season. But it was also the one where both of them got swallowed up by Garcia and Winhager. Obviously, Marcus Winhager's been in the headlines a fair bit this week with his tag on Nick Dacos. And just the way he did that. I'm expecting him to go to Caleb Sarong. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm expecting the double tag again with Windy and Garcia. I think we do just have like a better supportive unit around them, playing more cohesive football. I'm sort of expecting Fife or Erasmus. I think Fife might be sub, but if he's not sub, I'm expecting one of those two to get a role on Winhager, sort of like a counter tag on the tag, and try and create space for Sarong and Brayshaw to get him into the game. And if there's no space for them to be created, then I think we need the responsibility to be taken upon, Neil Erasmus, Nathan O'Driscoll, Matt Johnson, Shea Bolton, whoever else goes through there. I think Shea Bolton probably will be playing a bit more midfield with Dudley back in the team. So, he's going to have a big role. In fact, that Hayden Young injury happened in the St Kilda game, and that's when Shea Bolton first sort of got thrown into, having bulk midfield time. And that was a mid-game switch, so he couldn't really come into his own game in that game. But since then, he's been playing some really good footy, obviously, out of the middle. So hopefully, sort of a fit and firing Shea can help break whatever Sarong and Brayshaw has thrown at them. Neglecting the tags, one big thing, because if we can get ascendancy out of the middle, I don't have massive faith in the St Kilda key areas. I really feel like we can get on top in those areas. They don't have Dougal Howard, they don't have Jimmy Webster, they don't have Max King. So I really feel like it's something we can get on top of. And that's my next point. I think we've got to stretch the backs. Like, they've got none of those guys. They've got Alex Taru playing his second game. Like, yes, a very promising player, but playing his second game against two very physical key forwards in Voss and Tracy and Jay Amos, who's got 50 or so games under his belt. I think it's going to be a real challenge for that Saints back line. And there's sort of not been a game yet this year where all three of Voss, Tracy, and Amos have exploded. But I think we need to make the most of that. And I think we're getting closer to one of those types of games. We've had a few games where it's been Voss and Tracy or Voss and Amos or Tracy and Amos. But all three of them, I think there'll be a game where they all just get going all at once. And I think this could be the game, just looking at the Saints backline on paper. But obviously games aren't played on paper because if that was the case, we would have won in round 8. So yeah, also just the smalls. I don't think their small sort of defenders can match up on our small forwards. I think Dudley back in gives us an advantage when creating chaos. His stat lines at Peel haven't necessarily been, banging the door down, but I still think I've watched Peel the past couple of weeks, or bits and pieces at least, and I think he's just created a spark. Even if he's not hitting the scoreboard, there have been some tough conditions in the Waffle games, and I think he's really been just bringing a bit of a live wire to the front half. So I've got faith that Dudley will provide something that we haven't had over the past few weeks. And the last thing is just overcoming the mental hurdle. Like, as I said, we've overcome some mental hurdles this season. We won against the Giants away at NG for the first time ever. We beat Gold Coast on the Gold Coast for the first time in 10 years. We've won a lot of games in the wet, something we haven't been able to do for a while. So we're just overcoming these things that we haven't been able to do. This is another mental hurdle. We got pants by 10 goals last time against them. We have to bring the intensity and the fury like it's a grand final, and we just have to play our way. Because if we play our way, we are far better than St Kilda. And I think we've just got to be ready for whatever Ross throws at us, because he's a good coach. He knows how to coach against us really well for some reason. And, he'll have some tricks in his bag that we've just got to be ready to adjust to sort of on the fly. I think a lot of this game goes on the head of Justin Longmuir and the coaching staff as well. So hopefully after the game we're discussing a really good coaching performance from JL and how, Caleb and Andy contributed despite the tags they copped, because there's no doubt they'll get tagged. So yeah, there's a lot of talking points heading into this game. It's not often a Fremantle St Kilda game on a Sunday arvo has this much intrigue, but I'm certainly intrigued by sort of what's going to happen. This Saints team lost to the Eagles. Like, we can't lose twice to a team that lost to West Coast. Like, it would just be plain embarrassing. My tip is Fremantle by 24 points. I think we get this win. It'd be nice. I mean, I don't want to say percentage booster because, it sort of comes across as arrogant, but it's a game where we have to sort of, if we're on top, we've got to have that in our mind. Like, Hawthorn had a huge win over North yesterday, sort of extended their percentage out in front of us, where it was only about a 1% gap last week. So, yeah, I think, in the pointy end of the season, we really do need to improve on whatever we've got up on the board. I think we've got about 110%, which probably isn't good enough if we want to fight for higher in the top 8. So, yeah, I'm sure it won't be in the players' minds, but I really do just hope we'll have the ability to put a team to the sword. I'm not necessarily sure that St Kilda's that team, because they're a bit of a hard, ugly team to play against, but let's just hope we get a bit of ascendancy. Thank you all for watching. It's also the Starlight game. A great game for the club. We usually tend to show up on these games. It's been a good vibe all week. On the socials at least, it's looked like the Freo players and coaches and staff have really enjoyed their week with the Starlight Foundation. So hopefully that sort of plays into our good performance on Sunday. It's gonna be a great day at Optus. Hopefully we get the dub. Fan cams will be after the game, hosted by Drews, and then the podcast will be out Monday or Tuesday. Not sure when, but the content will be kickstarted next week ahead of the Swans game. But first and foremost, let's hope we get the 4 points against the Saints. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Up the Dockers.